On today's episode of Wrong Side, we take a look back at what we have learned over the past couple months, taking a look at some of our best quotes from our previous guests. We dive deep into week 0 of college football and the atrocity of Florida State's performance in Ireland, as well as a look ahead to week 1 of the college football season. A new segment, Around the World, investigating pop culture and other relevant news around the world. Our clutch moment of the week, sponsored by Shore Metals, and wrapping it up with Outside the Line. In a world full of champions, we find ourselves on the wrong side.
Welcome back and happy Wrong Side Wednesday. Today is August 28th, episode 23, Jordan year, coming to you live from Villa Park in Chicago, Illinois. Joey, welcome back.
Yes, sir. Happy Monday, I guess. Was kind of a swift kick to the dick to start the week off, but happy to be here. We got a great list of topics to dive into today. Back for another week. Jordan year, feeling grateful, feeling blessed to be here. How's your week starting off?
Tough start to the week. Went back to the dentist today. Had to get some stuff, a little extra appointment, get some a little extra filling done, which kind of sucks. So my right side of my face was numb for till about 11:30. That kind of sucked. But around then, 11:30 noon, got a great update on the phone. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see me wearing the shirt. Usually I wear my wrong side shirt. Today, wearing my Cowboys shirt. I think it's the first piece of gear I've put on since they lost in January. To be honest with
No
you,
way.
I think
No way.
I've worn my Dallas hat, but I haven't worn a shirt. Haven't worn a shirt, haven't worn a jersey, nothing. So
All right.
CeeDee Lamb is back. He will be a Cowboy for the next 5 years. Pretty excited about that. So that was a good start to the outside work of my week. But obviously, still have to ways to go with Dak and potentially Micah next season. But good start. Get your leading receiver back. I was reading today that potentially, what if he becomes the best number 88 Cowboys have ever seen? Going to be tough to have. I think you could technically do it statistically versus Michael
Yeah.
Irvin, but winning wise, I think he's got a long ways to go compared to Michael Irvin. But other than that, pretty good week this week coming up. Got softball championship on Wednesday.
Big
Got
time.
the number 1 seed last week with a big win. So got a bye on Wednesday. We just play one game versus two versus 3 seed winner. Other than that, nothing too crazy. Just getting mentally prepped, stretching out the legs, staying active before Saturday, Sunday while I rot for 48 hours. But very excited for the rest of the week and just kind of ready to get into it.
Yeah, yes, sir. And a 3-day weekend on top of that. So very much looking forward to
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Episode 23, a special episode for us heading into our Jordan year, almost to the quarter of a century? Yeah, quarter of a century mark. What we want to do, we like to talk football. Obviously, college football started, NFL's right around the corner. But also we like to talk life, get advice from our guests on people that we respect and deem successful in their field. We kind of ask them, what's your piece of advice for someone just starting off? Any new grads, people like that. So we pulled a few of our quotes from our past guests, kind of going oldest to newest, starting all the way back with Kane Acosta. That was a single digits episode, so feels like a lifetime ago. But a few quotes and pieces of advice from our guests we would like to kind of dive into, talk to you guys about, and let you guys know what we've learned over the last 6 months. So I will dive in with the first one from Kane Acosta. He gave us, it was a 4-point list of advice. 1, don't worry. 2, don't compare yourself to others. 3, don't expect things to go too fast. Don't expect things too fast. And then 4, be kind to yourself. And a little bit from me first on that one. That was single digits, still trying to figure out who we are, where we're going, the balance between the sports and the life side that we always like to talk about. And that was a piece of advice from Kane, who has millions of listeners on Spotify, like one of our most successful guests that we've had. And that's when it really hit me that like we're doing something here. Like I was very excited about that piece of advice. We were really deep into the analytics at that time, being really hard on ourselves in terms of numbers. And yeah, numbers still maybe aren't where we'd love them to be at, but it was good to hear from someone who is light years ahead compared to where we are, that you still got to focus on those things. You still got to wake up every day and be kind to yourself and not compare yourself to others, and really just focus on what you're doing, perfecting your craft, and the success will come. So as far as that one goes, that one is still one of my favorites.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit it on the nose when you talk about what we do. When we first started, we wanted to be a sports podcast before we recorded episode one. I called you the week before we started and basically said we should mix it up a little. There's 5,000 sports podcasts. How do we differentiate ourselves from others? And, it's tough. I think we always talk about, I think people our age talk about it. It's tough. You're working all day. You don't got a lot of time. A lot of recent grads are listening to this. People in college are listening to it. And it's
Yeah.
tough. There's a lot of things that go on in life where it gets tough. And at that moment in time, like you mentioned when we interviewed Kane, if you haven't listened to his interview, it was very interesting. Kane's a
Yeah.
very artistic dude, very successful, very creative when he writes songs. He's very good. If you guys have listened to us for weeks now, before Clutch Moment of the Week, we have a jingle, and he made that in 15 minutes. Just put something together. He knew we like sports. He did something like that. Our song when our episode starts is Kane. So Kane's been a great friend and backer of this podcast for a while now.
New
But
album coming out soon.
new
Ashes to
album coming
Amber.
out
Shout
soon,
out.
Ashley Amber. Yep. But along with that, it was a great time to hear those four steps because at
Yeah.
that time we were about 8, 9 episodes in, and it was tough. We are not Barstool Sports. We are not a Sirius XM main podcast. We are not someone who's dominating the Spotify podcast world. We're not Joe Rogan. We're not any of the big ones. We know that. But we're
Mhm.
slowly and surely gotten to a point where we feel a little more comfortable for ourselves. I think one thing for me, especially, was number two, don't compare. I
Yeah.
think there's so much comparing in anything, work, sports, etc. And here you were comparing. We are not perfect. We're trying to get better. We're doing all the right things. We rebranded. We had new helpers come help us. We have a social media guy now. We have someone who helps us with scheduling. We're doing everything better now. But at that point in time, I was asking Joey every Friday night, hey, what do the numbers look like? Hey, what do the numbers look like? Hey, what do the
Yeah.
numbers look like? Are people listening? Are people seeing our posts? What is the point of this? And it gets into your head, I think, at that point. And when he said that to us, it kind of like calm the nerves personally, I would
Yeah.
say. And it kind of helped me be like, you know what? Like, we're not going to be the top number one podcast or brand right now. We're 7 episodes in. We're still learning. We're trying to get big. We're doing the right things. And that kind of stuff is important. And I think it's helped us that for people who don't know, we've obviously had some big guests the last week: Jake Marsh, Drew Chrisman, Brendan Walter, Ian McGee. We've had bigger names. We've gotten some success. We're rolling now. Everything's coming into forward play, meeting Big Cat and PFT in LA, meeting Frank the Tank. We're doing the right things. But
Yeah.
we checked our numbers for listeners and analytics this past Friday. And I think it was the first time we've checked numbers in over a month.
Yep. I
And
think since the rebrand, actually.
so it was kind of like great to have that feeling. And I think it really helped us balance ourselves and kind of bring us back down to earth, get us back on a level playing field, and go down the right path instead of trying to zigzag our way through it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, you can apply it to really anything in life. Like even like I may not be as active as I want to be. It may not like my body, it hurts. I complain a lot about it. I don't need to compare myself to my friends that are more active than me. I just need to get out there and do it. I don't need to beat myself up that I'm not as good as the next guy. I just need to go out there and start doing that work. So just to think about what that list meant to us then versus what it means now is completely different almost. And I think that's a really good thing. We're evolving, continuing to learn, continuing to level up here, getting some bigger guests and bigger numbers, and it's all good stuff. But I enjoyed kind of circling back to that one and going through that.
Yeah, it's a great quote. And, he said he got it told to him by someone. And at
Yeah,
the time he got it told to him, he was like, wow, I really needed to hear this. And especially for him, someone like that, when it comes to the music industry, it's 5 million times what it is in the podcast world, where
for
basically you're
sure.
comparing yourself to everybody. And Brendan Walter, which we'll talk about one of his quotes next. But in his interview, if you go back and listen to him, he talks about luck, and Drew Chrisman talks about luck a little as well last week's interview. And people sometimes say like, "Oh, it's hard work, it's success, you're doing the right things, not luck." I think they're lying to you. There is luck in everything.
Yeah,
There are thousands and thousands of kids like Kane that are great musicians, that are very smart, that are very creative. And Kane has pushed himself to get above a lot of those guys. And I think that was a quote that told him, hey, just focus on yourself, stay on your lane. And when he told it to us, it was something that we took, ran with it, and stayed in our lane. And I think it's been world successful since.
yeah, definitely. We're trying to practice it every day. Thank you to Kane for that one. And then if you got nothing else on that one, you want to move on to Brendan's?
Yeah, Brendan's his was a little smaller, but basically I think it affects us a lot.
Great
His
concept.
was
Yeah.
His was athlete brain sometimes gets the best of us. And I think this relates to a lot of our listeners, especially a lot of our friends from college, high school, etc. Athlete brain, I think, is one of two ways you can take it. I think there's one way where you can take it as in I will happily admit that I have both sides of athlete brain. From one
Yeah.
hand, I say everything in a sports reference. Everything to me is okay, you get another at bat in the game, take one strike. It's okay to go to the next pitch, focus on the next shot, think about things like that, battle with two strikes. A lot of my positive good luck sayings are sports related. So that's one half of athlete brain that I'm definitely diagnosing myself with.
Oh,
The other
100%.
half of athlete brain that I don't think a lot of people think of, and what he kind of talked about, and at this point in time in Brendan's interview when we had it, we were kind of scrambling. We were talking about rebranding. We were doing 5,000 things before we kind of fully expanded to our new team.
Yeah.
And he made it seem like athlete brain is like guys and girls, people in general that want to do things and they have 5,000 things to do and they're spamming text. They're saying, hey, I got to do this, 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 and that. And, or you're doing, okay, I want to do this. I want to be regimented. I want to do that. And you're trying to think of 5,000 different ways to get one thing done. And he made a good point. He's like, it's okay that athlete brain gets the best of us sometimes. You just have to turn it off at some
Yeah.
points. And when he kind of explained it in his interview, if you go back and listen, he talks about instead of focusing on 50 things, focus on two things. Get two things done really, really well, and then focus on the next thing. Don't worry about 50 things being done okay. Two things done great, and then move on from there.
Yeah, that was huge. I think that was very applicable to our kind of rebrand phase. We had 1 million things we were going to do. We had no idea the direction we were headed. We're having all these big ideas, small ideas, trying to have 1,000 knives juggling in the air. And then we kind of step back. We're like, okay, we need a list in priority. We're knocking out step one. I don't know. Maybe for me, it gets a little anxiety inducing to look at a list that's this big and months down the line. But looking at one thing to do one day or one week, like that definitely helps me. And podcast world and work world and life in general. I got lists everywhere. So the athlete brain you're trying to move 1,000,000 miles an hour. You want to have control over everything. Like sometimes you got to push things to next week, next month, or delegate, learn how to delegate things, work in a team, which we've been doing a lot of lately too. So the athlete brain, it definitely hits a lot of us hard. I know many of our listeners and us like grew up playing sports. So it like really hits home. But that and the thinking in sports references, I think that's a positive diagnosis overall. I would have it no other way than thinking of my life as a big sports play.
But yeah, I agree. Definitely, I think it's positive. I think some people get annoyed, but I think it's a massive positive
Boo.
that's
Yeah.
how it is. But he said it himself. Being a college athlete, I think that he said it a really good way. That's a different way of looking at athlete brain, where you get up, you got weights in the morning, you got class, you got lunch, you got practice. Everything is very regimented, and you have a way of doing it. And you're so used to
Yeah.
doing 5,000 things. You're busy from waking up to going to bed, and that happens. I see someone like Meg who's doing the same thing, waking up, going to bed. She's busy every little second of the day. Our work days, you have 3 meetings, you have 2 meetings, but you got to get 10 other things done on your own, tracking your own success and balancing everything together sometimes gets crumbled up in that athlete brain. And he made a good point saying, get the steps done, knock out a list. And obviously, Joey and I, who have talked about it before, we love lists. We always write lists down,
Yeah.
whether it's for the podcast or whether it's for work, whether it's for life. I have one running on my laptop and I write one down every week, just stuff like that. And it's just like taking things one step at a time. Don't try to knock out 15 at once, knock out one by one. And I saw one thing which kind of related to this. The last thing I'll say about his was you sent it to me, or maybe someone else sent it to me, and it was about like life and football and first downs.
Yes. Yeah. I
And you
love
sent me
that
this.
clip.
I was kind of torn in the middle of it. And basically, for anybody who hasn't seen this clip, he talks about life being trying to get more and more first downs in life instead of trying to throw Hail Marys, which in the end of the day, you need touchdowns to win, not first
Yep.
downs. But in the same way, you do need those first downs. You need to keep moving down the field to get to the end zone. To find that final product, you got to get first down. So don't worry about throwing a Hail Mary when you have 15 minutes left to go in the game. Worry about the first down in the first half, the first down after that, the first down after that, get in the end zone, and then
Yep.
be happy with the final product.
First downs will eventually result in touchdowns. If you spend all your time focusing on scoring a touchdown every play, you're probably going to get yourself in trouble. And you want to know where that clip actually affected me most when I heard it? My college football 25 gameplay. So
Okay.
we've talked about the dynasty. I've been really locked into this game in other ways, but sometimes when I start throwing the ball down the field, that's the only thing I can think about. Scoring those touchdowns, going over the top on the defense. But, then I throw 5 picks in a game, 7 picks in a game, lose to Michigan in my first year at Ohio State, and I'm a wreck. So get some first downs, run the football. I was like, damn. And then I was like, oh, wait, this is probably a pretty good analogy for life, too. So that was a good clip in more ways than one for me.
Definitely.
For
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. College gameplay as well. Today,
Yeah.
played some good defense, got some first downs. And then moving forward, what happened was the second half, I was up so big, I just started to start chunking the ball, run the
Uh-huh.
ball, bleed the clock, get a
Get
first
me
down.
out of
So
here.
small things
Uh-huh.
just like that. You're absolutely right.
Another thing I actually kind of just thought of for Brendan's athlete brain, one thing that our high school football coaches always said was, and you hear coaches say this all the time, you practice hard to make the games easy. And that means different things to different people and in different ways. But how I'd like to take it in this way is the habits we have every week, like making sure we get clips, making sure we get recording done and X, Y, and Z done on time. Those are habits you build. So eventually you that's on autopilot. You want to know your assignment and what you're doing so well that when game day comes, when we put the headsets on, when we get out there in the work world, you turn your brain off and you revert back to your habits. So I think that's another good way to kind of institute the athlete brain into your everyday life. Build those habits because then life becomes easy. Another athlete quote, a Bill Belichick quote I saw the other day was, "You're getting
We're on to
pain either way."
Cincinnati.
Yeah, we're on to Cincinnati, but you you get pain on kind of either side of an event. You can train hard and take the pain now for it to be easier later on in a game, or you're lazy now, you don't practice as hard, you're not prepared, you avoid the pain early and suffer more at the end. So obviously tons of analogies like we said to apply sports to life, but athlete brain has been a concept that is more and more applicable every day.
Definitely. Definitely. Jake Marsh, do you want to do his quote?
Let's roll. Let me open this back up. Jake Marsh, building relationships is arguably more important than how you are on the air or in person. Yeah, this goes back to what you said earlier about luck and everything. You can be the most talented person in a room. If you aren't able to work with a team or if you don't know the right people, it's never going to happen. We are the best podcasters in the world, but because we don't know Big Cat or PFT yet, we're not the richest podcasters in the world. So I think that one was really good. Like we said with the numbers, like we wish 8 billion people were listening to this podcast every week, but we don't know all 8 billion people yet. So um, we need to keep getting out there. We need to keep doing the cold calls like we've been doing for interviews, and like eventually that's all going to come. Like we need to get more. We need to get in the game, continue to get in the game as far as the industries we want to be in. Surround yourselves with the people that you want to be like, and then success comes that way too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a perfect way of looking at it with like Luck and PFT and Big Cat and those guys. I think it's like kind of how like obviously a sports quote like we already did, but Jeter has one where it's like hard work beats talent when talent doesn't beat hard work.
Yeah.
And I think it matters. I think building relationships in any aspect. I didn't really think it was that big when I was kind of like getting into college. You're like, oh, Ohio State, big alumni, make
Oh
connections,
yeah.
do that, be successful. You think of it from like a broad standpoint, and then as you grow up, as you work, do jobs, internships, etc., you realize how important those relationships are. That one meeting, Jake mentioned in his interview about the golf tournament. He's calling that 3M. He called it a couple weeks ago now at this point in
Yep.
time.
Mhm.
But he met him through a Barstool event and he remembered his name, remembered his number. He emailed him a year later, and was like, hey, I'm Jake Marsh. This will happen. Sets him up, gets him some gigs. Boom, he's doing great. Jake's doing great on the PGA. So it's stuff like that where like it doesn't matter if it's like one small person, just like building relationships, getting better, finding connections. And
Yeah.
I remember this past month, Jake and I went to the Orange County alumni for Ohio State. There's this woman, Mary Haynes, great lady. She runs like a send off event every August, end of July, August for all freshmen and older students in college at Ohio State from Orange County. They have a party at her house. There's drinks, there's ice cream, there's food, everything. It's like 2 hours. Meet other
How many people
Buckeyes.
are there?
This time it was a smaller
Ish.
one. This year it was
Okay.
like 50 to 75. Sometimes they come with
Okay.
their parents, sometimes they don't. But it doesn't matter. Jake and I went together. He asked me to go, so I went. Obviously, I'm an alumni, so there are some alumni. And one
Nice.
of the guys talking said when he was at school, he did this, and it kind of like shocked me. Like, oh man, I wish I did this, because you have like a small little note, or like you remember some things here and there from other bosses. But this was kind of crazy to hear. So when he started college, week one, he had a notebook, and all this notebook was for meeting people. So he would
Mm.
write down, he met Michael Sharver. He worked at PwC. He was in beta and he does this Wrong Side podcast. And we would talk and he wrote down his phone number or an email or something. And he did that every time he met someone new. It didn't matter if they were Derek Jeter or it didn't matter if it was Michael Sharver, the two broadest wide of the spectrums of people of importance in the world. And it helped him get jobs because he emailed one guy junior year. I was like, hey, my name is Michael Sharber. I remember you from this meeting. This is what we talked about. I would love to connect and grab coffee. Just that little memory, just those little notes in an email, I feel like help people understand that kind of stuff. Ended up leading to a job. He was successful, and boom, a small relationship worked out in his favor.
Yeah, so I interned at CDW the summer before I graduated, so the summer before I started, and my manager when I was an intern really took the whole networking thing seriously. She set up meetings with director levels, VP levels, and I was just an intern. A lot of these people were really nice to take the time with me, but I had a running OneNote of every single person, where they were from, what we learned, what we talked about from a billion different facets of the industry, and they all did different things. And later on, a few of those people that I had met, my manager when I was an intern transferred to a different team. She was the one who called and hired me, and the team she put me on was full of people that I had done that with. So they had vague memory of me a month before I graduated, kind of a completely different person than I am right now. But those can like that exact story was very applicable for me. It was super important to not only the people that I met, but my manager when I was an intern as well. She was the one who hired me on. So without her, I wouldn't have graduated with the job. So you hear your parents say it, networking, like it's not what you know, it's who you know. Networking is the most important thing. Career fairs are awkward and they kind of stink, but face-to-face interaction is something that we're kind of losing in this world in this day and age. And I wish we had more of it, as I know I'm more remote than you are these days, but somewhere where I thrive, we're kind of losing that these days. And it's still so true. It's still so true. Networking is so important, and we're doing our best with it, with cold calling and setting up interviews. But it's an oldie but a goodie.
Yeah, I told Jake before he went back to school, we got his LinkedIn all set up. I was like, just connect with people. I was making fun that I think younger siblings have an advantage in the LinkedIn connection world.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he can just go and just feast off my connections, people I've made, stuff like that. So it's just like you said, go meet people, go to the career fair, go talk to people, be yourself, and don't try to
Yeah.
be someone you're not. I think it's stupid to do that. I think people in the business world, in the real world, even outside of business, people are very good. If you're good at it, you can read bullshitters very well. And
Oh
if you
yeah.
can read a bullshitter really well, you're going to be very successful because you know who can do it, you know who can't do it. And I think for
Hmm.
me, biased, but I can read a bullshitter very well. I think if you're bullshitting me, I can spot it out. I'll know you're bullshitting me. And I've seen people get caught bullshitting that I've been like, oh, I knew that was going to
Yeah.
happen. And sometimes it happens, but being yourself, being authentic, talk to people, make connections, do the right thing. It'll be worlds of success in your life. Last quote we have before we hop into other stuff. Last week's interview, if you missed it, Drew Chrisman, great interview, punter, pink zebra, great guy,
Yep.
caught us on the phone, had a beautiful call at the end with his Michigan or Natty question on the phone. But his quote was, you don't need to have it all figured out. I make plans and God laughs. I think it's perfect. I think, especially when you're in your 20s to 30s, you have all these dreams, all these aspirations, and I think we talked about it fairly early into the Wrong Side brand podcast, but we talked about the Instagram lifestyle versus real lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I
Hmm.
think you don't need to have it all figured out. I make plans and God laughs kind of relates really well to don't compare from Canes because
Hmm.
you see people posting these pictures. You're on vacation or they're doing this, and you're like, man, like I want to do that. Why can't I do that? And you try to do it, and then you have to save money or you don't have the money. And I think there's just so many different obstacles, and it's okay to not have it figured out, and it's okay not to go through with certain things. If you want to save money and do
Yeah.
that because you're trying to plan for a better future, save money. Do what's best for you. If you want to go and spend and live the life where you're not really saving as much, but you're going to have an awesome freaking life, go do that. Do what's best for you. And life, as we all know it, is not a straight line. We all
Yeah.
know that the fastest way to get to somewhere is between point A and point B is a straight line. We all know that, but point A to point B rarely happens. And I think it kind of comes back to the PFT video you sent me today.
Yep. Hmm. Yeah, the PFT video. He was talking about working in your 20s. They've been doing this. I actually saw a different video about how Big Cat and PFT met before Pardon My Take. It was in like 2014. I'm like, damn, that is quite a while ago. They've been at this for some time. But the clip that I sent you earlier, talking about working in your 20s, like work a part-time job, work that cool job that you think is fun, that you wouldn't care if you got fired from it tomorrow because you're too busy figuring out where you fit in the rest of the world. Like work will be there, whether you're a bartender, a construction worker, a corporate office person. Like it doesn't matter. Like work, sometimes it is, obviously it's a high priority, but it's not your end all be all of where you kind of fit in this world. You don't need to have it all figured out. It's one day at a time. The fact that I'm doing my job, Michael's doing his job, I have like, there's, everyone's doing their own thing. If you're stuck there comparing yourself to what other people are making in their jobs, what job they're doing, how, oh, this person's married, that person's married, like, do you be happy with what you're doing? If you're not happy with what you're doing, change it. Like you need to still take care of yourself, obviously, but you don't need to be stuck to a plan. You just need to keep going forward and keep figuring it out.
I think one thing that it gets kind of thrown on the social media platforms every couple months, every few years, I guess, maybe it's more than a few months, but I always see it. Maybe it's just my feed, but the show Friends, if anybody hasn't seen the show, I feel like it's pretty well known by this time. I
Yeah.
understand it wasn't big when we were younger because we weren't born yet, most of the people our age. But the show Friends, if you think about it from that aspect, they all, that first season, I think that says they're all like 27, 28, and none of them
Yeah.
have their lives figured out. Nobody's married at this point. Ross is divorced. Rachel left Barry at the altar. Everyone's doing their own thing. Joey is struggling to be an actor. Chandler's doing his thing. Monica's trying to do her thing. No one's got to figure it out, and they're 27, 28.
We're
And I think
23,
we're
24.
23. And I know we talk about it a lot. We're not the experts. I know we talk about it that we're not the perfect people. We're not the messiah of life and everything. But we started this podcast to have uncomfortable conversations and to make other people feel affected and listen and heard. And we talk about numbers, we talk about listeners, all that kind of stuff, followers, etc. These kind of conversations, all it takes is one person to hear this kind of stuff. If you
Yeah.
hear this, if you're listening to this and you're like, man, these guys, they're saying the right things. I need to be better about myself. And you were to reach out or something like that, be like, hey guys, really liked last week's episode. Really appreciate all that advice. I know everybody's got it tough. To us, to me, that would be that. Those are the kind of things that make it bigger than just doing this for fun. I know we don't have 5 million followers. I know we don't have 5 million listeners, but hearing that kind of stuff, we've talked about it in other interviews with Brendan, Kane, etc. When those one fan comes up to them like, I've been listening to you for 3 years. You're my favorite artist. Those are better than any million streams they've hit, they said. So
Yeah.
to hear those
Mhm.
kind of things, I hope you guys are listening that it's okay to have life not figured out, and it's okay that you're going to figure it out along the way. Things will get better, and hopefully you aren't so tough on yourself and realize that life's going to be okay.
There's a long list of things that we're not. We're not rich and famous. We're not Barstool Sports. We're not this, that, and the other thing, but we're us. That's something that they're not. So we just got to keep on focusing being us. Those of you listening, keep on focusing on being you. You'll figure it out. Everything will be okay. Just keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on, relax, be happy, get ready to go because football's back and you
Football
can
is back.
smile, be yourself. And I have no problem saying that. To me, being happy is watching football weekend. And I got to start it this past weekend with week 0. What do you think about the games that started?
Absolutely electric. I said, talk about being yourself. I think I am at my peak in the 1 or 2 weeks before the college football playoff rankings drop. So, and I am just going
Okay.
over and over like Doctor Strange of the 7,000,001 possibilities of this team to make their way into the top 4, top 12 now. So even more stuff to figure out. But college football, I'm more excited for college football maybe than I am for NFL this year. A lot of we'll get to NFL next week, but locking in on college football, I woke up, had a lot of friends over Friday night. So we started getting the mimosas going early, felt like a real good college football Saturday. Didn't really last too long, but Florida State, DJ Ugadabuga, I don't even know what to say. They're trying to sue the ACC. They're too good for the ACC. I laughed. I was laughing at them.
Put the fries in the bag, DJU. Put the fries in the bag. But
Get it. Learn LinkedIn, please.
learn LinkedIn, please. You and
Yeah.
Baycott, same team. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a crazy start. That game, I think it was awesome to see the first 2 drives, especially with, I think, the last couple months with the video game coming out.
for sure.
There was a lot of discourse. This game is too unrealistic. It's too hard to play defense. Why is there so many points? Too many spin moves, yada, yada, yada. The first two drives hit the video game right on the head. The game was
Yeah,
perfect. 8-7, no defense through the first two drives. Everyone was making fun, said, told you guys this was realistic. And boom, it happened. Obviously, the game settled down a little, but Georgia Tech took it to them. They punched
yeah,
them in the mouth. They showed how it's done. They ran all over them. They won on that field goal. I mean, it was truly remarkable. After Mike Norvell, after everything that happened last year, 13-0, missing the playoffs, getting embarrassed by Georgia, I was reading that the team was eager. They were waiting. They were itching to get out there
oh,
Saturday morning, or I guess it was Saturday night in Ireland, but itching
yeah,
to get out there in Ireland on Saturday. And they come out and they put out that stinker of a game one, losing. And, we were talking about it in our group chat today that, maybe there's some life still for FSU. FSU is not like Clemson, for example. Clemson's in the ACC. They got Georgia this week. If they lose to Georgia, it's
yeah,
really, it sucks. It's a tough loss. It's 1-14. But at the end of the day, they're still 0-0 in conference play. Florida State's
yeah.
0-1. They're fighting out of a hole from game one. They had to come back, that gigantic flight home, have to suffer and think about everything that happened. They get a Monday night game against a talented, underrated Boston College team. I think their quarterback,
Yes.
he can run. So it'll
hmm
be really interesting to see. But yeah, Florida State 0-1 after everything that happened. Maybe Mike Norvell, Jordan Travis Merchant.
There's definitely an argument for that. Well, we'll backtrack there. Halftime, DJ was 12 for 15 for so great completion percentage.
Negative point one
Point
air
one
yards.
air yards per attempt, like 95 yards at the half. So maybe he's a product of poor scheming by Mike Norvell. Like for all of
But
them
he's
to
been like
be
this for 3 years. Like he's been this way for 3 years. And it's like that meme that I was talking about it all weekend with some of my buddies from home. It's like a picture of Buzz and Jesse when Jesse's like hugging Buzz. And it's
yeah,
like, the OC did it again, huh? Where you're like blaming someone else. You're trying to find every different scapegoat when it's like, there's one thing that's been consistent with three different teams at Clemson, Oregon State, and Florida State now. Like,
yeah.
it can only be one.
That's respect. I mean, I will not be sad when DJ. It's Ugalele.
DJ
Sure,
Ukulele, yeah, sure.
ukulele. I will not be sad when he departs from college football. I was a fan of more so of Bo Nix. Stetson Bennett obviously was heartbreaking as a Buckeyes fan, but DJ, like, to have that little success and still be around, like, I was not disappointed to see them lose. Let's just say that there is still hope for them.
Sure.
But no, it was awesome to see some football. You hit it on the head. The game did justice. I bet the EA reps, the bastard Michigan head of EA over there, was happy to see that play out. But no, that they will have a test against a very talented Boston College team. Luckily, I think they're at home now, so they'll be
They
getting the
are.
chop going down there. But it felt good to see football be back. Already get to theorize about the college football playoff landscape after that. Get one game, one upset, so we're in it.
Yeah, I think, and the rest of the slate was incredible as well. I didn't stay up for the Hawaii Delaware State game, which was at 9 o'clock. I
Yeah,
mean, I was up. I did not watch it. It was at 9 o'clock my time, which is 6 o'clock in Hawaii, 12 o'clock East or midnight Eastern time. But the
yeah.
three games the two other games after that, with the New Mexico, Montana State, and SMU Nevada, both great games. New Mexico was 14.5 point underdogs to Montana State, who was the FCS team.
Okay.
This is one of those scenarios where when you play, like it's probably what's happening this week with Akron. Akron's probably getting some big bucks to play Ohio State this week. When these
Yeah.
smaller schools play the big schools pay them for their travels. You hear all the stories when there's big upsets like this. The Appalachian State versus Michigan, that's a classic one. Appalachian State got I think $300,000-$400,000 to play them, and they walked away
Damn.
in the big house with a win. Montana State got $350,000 to play this game. Came out, was
Wow.
down 31-17, came all the way back, won, beat New Mexico. Incredible second half, gritty game. Then moved on, SMU Nevada, which
The
everything I've been reading,
ponies.
Ponies, escaped barely. That their social media team was way too excited for a team that Nevada's won 3 games combined the last few seasons. 3.
Ooh, that's
And
not great.
SMU's social media team was way too excited for a win like that. I think that was another great game, though. Maryland was incredible, the tight end for them. They had a little QB controversy with Preston and their other backup. But we'll see. Those 3 games were pretty great. Like an appetizer. for the
Yeah.
season.
Ano
I
my
Go ahead.
My take was similar to maybe it was the Hall of Fame game we were talking about, that it was that preseason started and that's like, man, this is just a tease. It feels like it's really not here yet. This week, I mean, it's only Monday, so I can't say it's dragging quite yet. But yeah, a better appetizer than the Hall of Fame game for the
No
NFL,
doubt, no
but
doubt.
still quite the tease taking a look at the slate next week.
Yeah, definitely the slate next week is better. Obviously, people are going to get more excited. The people are jacked up. 1-1 to a team that was number 10, one top 10 team already down. I think has got
Yeah.
a lot of people excited and a lot of different storylines. Couple games next week. We wrote a couple down that we're pretty excited for. Clemson versus Georgia. That's a big one. North Dakota State at CU, which I believe is a big one. So we'll touch on that a little. Notre
Hmm.
Dame, Notre Dame versus A&M, which is 20 versus 7. I think Notre Dame is 7, A&M is 20. This is going to be. I saw there's going to be over 100 recruits at Texas A&M on Saturday.
Wow.
A
LeBron
hundred
was at the
recruits.
Notre Dame Ohio State game, but no beef.
Penn State at West Virginia. Obviously, Akron, Ohio State, not a big game. Big game for us, though, Buckeyes.
Yep.
Sunday night, we got the Allegiant game, Vegas Classic, USC at LSU at a neutral site in Vegas, and Monday Night Football, quote unquote Monday Night Football, Boston College at FSU, big game. See how they bounce back.
Bounce
Let's
back.
pick. Let's pick 3 games you want to talk about. Which one are you gonna pick?
I think we gotta talk about the elephant in the room, which to me is North Dakota State at Colorado. There has been a
Okay.
lot of talk about Coach Prime. I have taken a firm stance that I am pro the Buffaloes, Shadur, Prime. He's my guy. A lot of people are saying that North Dakota State is going to win straight up. Um, that would be absolutely devastating. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Prime has heard the noise. Shadur has heard the noise. Travis Hunter has heard the noise. And though they may play it close for a period of time, and I don't know what the spread is in front of me, Colorado is going to come out with a win here. Last year, they came onto the scene with a huge week 1 win against TCU. As we've seen on social media, their practices get pretty intense, pretty physical, pretty chippy. These guys are looking to hit somebody else too. And maybe they're not the most physical team up front in the country, but they don't need to be. They have the players, and it will prevail. Colorado may not cover, but they are going to win straight up. Also, my pick, not pick of the year, but a pick that I'm really ready to defend is Colorado's season wins over 5.5.
Oh, okay. Okay. They've got a tough schedule this year. That's an interesting bet.
Big 12.
Um, Big game, though. I think this North Dakota State Colorado game, obviously, it's a lot bigger than the New Mexico Montana State game, even though that was FBS versus FCS. North Dakota State is a known FCS powerhouse. Carson
For
Wentz in
sure.
college, Trey Lance in college. They've been a contender champion in the Final Four of the FCS bracket for, I'd say, 6-7+ years now. And it's going to be interesting. Although Colorado's coming in, they've kind of beefed up their own line a little. Obviously, they have
Mhm.
Prime, Shador, and Travis. North Dakota State also looking a little differently this year. Their head coach just took a job at USC, Southern Cal,
That
this
was my
year.
question.
So, new head coach, going to be interesting to see there. I think they are 14.5-point underdogs. So, about a 2 touchdown spread. Will be.
That's a
I
scary
don't.
line.
I think it has the story. The story is bigger than the game in the sense of the way I say that is I think Colorado will come out. They will win this game. I do
Mhm.
actually believe they're going to cover this game. I think the only worry I have is that they're looking ahead to Nebraska week 2 against Rayola. I think that's a huge game. I hope they're not looking ahead. But obviously, Prime in the limelight this week with the Denver Post. If you guys didn't see, one of 2 coaches, I'll touch on him next. I don't know if we need to get fully into the game, but basically told one reporter and his coaches that they will no longer be answering questions from the Denver Post and a specific reporter. They called this guy a
Mm.
hater. Some of the words he said was Dion is this guy. He was using all these words to describe Dion, basically kind of calling him out, which in Dion's defense, on one hand, I think it's pretty fair to say this guy was coming at attacking him. There was never a positive story. I think it's
Okay.
different. We talked about in our Sam Blum interview how Sam is kind of honest and open about the Angels, but he's never really taking direct shots in an interview. Obviously, Artie doesn't do the interviews for the Angels, and the management
Yeah.
doesn't do that. But Sam doesn't really come at you. So when he was banned from that radio station, it was one thing. This guy comes, they ask him the questions at the press conference. He says negative things. They banned him. They're not answering his questions. So he did that. On the other hand, I think it's very soft. I think you shouldn't do that. And
Yeah.
I'll go out and say it. People were calling out today. Guess what? Dabo Sweeney, also very soft, said he won't be answering calls, answering questions anymore on the radio station after Tyler from Spartansburg last year when they were 4-4. So both coaches, both soft, answer the questions. You're paid to do a job, get the job done. I think I've kind of settled on CU since they got humbled last year.
Yeah.
But I think it was just the media and the frenzy of them coming out hot and winning. I get it; it was a big win last year, and they started 2-3-0, but then they played some real teams and kind of struggled. And I just think
Yeah.
it was the small things to me when you were under 500 and you beat Arizona State on a last second touchdown, and Shador is showing his watch, brother. Arizona State's got like 2-3 wins the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
So it's like that's one thing. It's the way they're talking, and we're better than everybody, and we should be a Heisman, and we're going to be the first pick. And Dion's talking about how Shador is going to be like Eli, and I'm going to tell what teams are allowed to take him. I think there was so much extra noise. And the number one thing, FanDuel posting that post 2019 LSU versus 2023 Colorado. Who do you think would win this game?
Absurd.
That was the most tone deaf thing I think I've ever seen. So
Yeah.
that's my stance on Colorado.
I'm excited for the
They're
circus. Good, bad,
it's
or
just
ugly. Love him, hate him. It is the most week to
love him or
week
hate
last
him, you
year. They were the
watch.
most interesting story. Yes,
Love him
love
or
him or
hate him,
hate him.
you
You
watch.
watch. Hmm.
Next game, I'll pick one game. We'll touch on it quickly before we maybe pick a different game. You can have the last pick, but Akron OSU. Obviously,
Need
we're
it.
going to touch on this game. Obviously, it's not the biggest game of the weekend, but for us, excited. A lot of money on that roster. Lane Kiffin got out on Twitter today tweeting about it. I think he's still a little salty about Judkins. What are your thoughts? What are you excited to see? What's one player, one thing you're ready to go? What do you want to see out of the Buckeyes? Obviously, the spread is 50.5. The
50 and
over
a
is
half.
58. So basically, I guess they're saying it's going to be 58-0, 52-0. But
Damn.
let's see what happens. What are your thoughts for the Buckeyes before we head into week one?
I'd love to see them cover this spread, and 50 points is a lot. That may be super unrealistic of me to say, but maybe not 50, but I want them to take care of business. The announcers say it in Madden in the college football game is when you have an out of conference game, a game that is just straight up mismatched like this. One, no injuries. That is priority number one. Priority number one is a win. Priority number two is
No
no
injuries.
injuries. But I'd love to see like a good clean game by Ryan Day and Chip Kelly. Run the ball. Let me see the Judkins spin move in a Buckeye uniform for the first time. Let's get those receivers in the open field. I don't like we may punt. I hopefully no turnovers, but we may punt here and there, but I'd love to see them just like take care of business, maybe still workshop some things. Like again, this is a mismatched game. Workshop some things, don't need to show too much, but get out of your own way. That's been the big criticism of the Buckeyes over the last couple of years. Ryan Day, that's been the criticism. So want to see him in kind of his new role as the CEO with Chip Kelly really heading the offense a little bit more, at least so we're told. I take care of business, Buckeyes. That's the message.
Take care of business. Pretend it's Michigan. I think if they get back into that mindset where Urban Meyer said they're going to blow up everybody in their way, like they are Michigan, that kind of stuff. You play like that, you're never going to lose a game. And
Yep.
for me, one thing that I really want to see, obviously no injuries, that kind of stuff. I think the common answer and the easy answer is Jeremiah Smith. Everybody wants to see him, which yeah, I do too. But to me, the most important thing I want to see is I want to see the O line take that next step. I want to see pass
Yes.
protection. I understand that there were some guys out for that Mizzou game, but Devin Brown, Lincoln, nobody had time. Even against Michigan in the later half of the season, there was no time. And I think McCord obviously had a lot of faults, and he didn't do that. But there were times where it was nothing to you couldn't even like criticize McCord because the pocket collapsed so fast. Let's see
Yep.
what this kid from Alabama, the center, is going to do. Let's see what they've done. Justin Fry has really faltered at the recruiting aspect, so it'll be very interesting to see how he handles that. But along with that, I would love to see a couple plays on offense, not have an open receiver, and I would love to see Will Howard use his legs. I would
Love
love
that.
to see him use, if the play is broken, I want to see him scramble. I want to see him move, slide, please slide, don't get hit. But I want to see him use his legs. I want to see what they're using. Chip Kelly is known to be great with running backs and running
Yep.
quarterbacks. Let's see it. I don't need you to show me plays that you're going to show me from week 11, week 12, but show me something. I want to see something to show there's been improvement. I want to see the wide receivers. I want to see zone 6, best in America. Everybody come out. Denzel Burke, lead this defense. We got
Yes.
Spenny Styles now playing linebacker. Everybody get ready to go. Let's show up. Let's go 1-0, and let's try to be the best thing about being 1-0, being 2-0.
Opportunity to go 2-0.
Let's
Let's
go.
do it.
And one more game. Let's see which one you want to pick. We'll talk about it.
Got to go with the biggest matchup of the weekend, college game day, Notre Dame at A&M. Derek Bauer will be in attendance. As a Notre Dame fan, he is still a closeted Notre Dame fan,
What?
no matter what he says. Number 7 Notre Dame. There's a lot of high expectations. I have a couple other friends that went there who are ball knowers, I would say. No Sam Hartman, but they got the kid from Duke, Riley Leonard. I thought he was great. should have a defense, some O line, D line to back him up. And I don't really know much about A&M this year, but walking into that field, it's a Notre Dame is known to lose these big games. Like it's a the first big matchup of the year, so both teams got to be going crazy for it.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Field was named number one in Stadium Pulse in the
Yeah,
game. Let's see that crowd go. I mentioned earlier that there's going to be a ton of recruits at this game. There's going to be people there. I think people are watching. I'm kind of rooting for A&M receivers because they recreated the Jerry Judy, Devontae
that was
Smith picture.
crazy.
That
You're
was
rooting for
awesome.
them for that? You
That's
cannot. That's
awesome. That was
crazy.
awesome. Those guys are
That's
going to be plumbers. That was
oh
awesome. You
man.
got to laugh at that. But
All right.
I think A&M, this is a chance for them to potentially, they've kind of taken the brunt force the last few years. They lost Jimbo. They're still paying Jimbo. Ross Bjork is now at Ohio State. The things have not gone their way. They got recruits coming in. They're losing a lot of recruits to UT. This is a game they got to win. But
Yep.
unfortunately, I think Marcus Freeman is now getting to that point where he's going to start rising to the occasion. I hate Notre Dame. I've always hated Notre Dame. Growing up with my family being USC, it was Notre Dame and UCLA I hated. Going to Ohio State, it was just as bad. I hated them. I wanted to beat them. Notre Dame is one of those schools where it feels like everybody who's just like Irish likes Notre Dame, and everybody who just like wants
Yeah.
to root for Notre Dame. It's like Duke. I feel like in the Yankees.
Whole lot of Notre Dame in the Chicago area. My great grandma
Oh
was a big
yeah.
Notre
Oh
Dame fan.
yeah.
I grew up a somewhat of a Notre Dame fan until I wised up to the world in general. But yeah,
But I think Marcus Freeman's a great coach. I like when he's a Buckeye. I
Mhm.
think he has a chance to keep going on this trajectory. But the thing is, for Notre Dame, what I worry about is if they don't win this game, I think they're not to say their season is over, but if they don't win this game, I'm very easily to say that they're out, they're done for the year. And the reason I say that is
No.
here's why. Hear me out. In a sense of I don't think their season is over. I don't think they're a bad team. If they go 11-1, they're probably going to be in because that means they beat USC later in the year.
Yeah.
But my thing with Notre Dame is the top four teams in the playoff are big Power Four champions. You get the
Champions.
automatic
Uh
bye.
huh.
At best, Notre Dame can only be the number five. At best, they can go undefeated,
Hosting a playoff game.
hosting a playoff game, but at best they can only be number five. They don't. They have a very, very winnable schedule. I think this year, not a lot of big games. They have this game against Texas A&M. They have USC later in the year. If they don't win either of these games, if they lose this one, they are starting off on a wrong foot. Now, granted,
Yeah.
they're at 7. If it's a one-score game, they're on the road. I get it. If they go in there and get spanked by Texas A&M, or if they beat Texas A&M and lose to USC or lose both, their season is over. For them, there is no like, oh, we lost our out of conference game. Like Clemson, for example, if Clemson loses to Georgia, Georgia's the number one team in the nation. It's a neutral, quote unquote, neutral site at the Atlanta Falcons Stadium.
So was the Peach Bowl. Crimea
so
River.
so but like Clemson losing that game, yeah, they're 0-1. It's okay. Guess
Yeah.
what? Clemson can go 11-1, win their conference, still end up with a 1 through 4 seed. They're okay. Not being in a conference, join a fucking conference, join the Big Ten, join the ACC, do something to help your team because you in this spot is going to screw yourselves up for. I believe Notre Dame is in the exact. I understand that 12 team helps teams like Notre Dame, but I believe Notre Dame is in the exact same spot they were in with Power Four or the top with them when there was only 4. They got to
Mhm.
win. They got to go undefeated. They can only have one loss, and it better be a good loss because if they don't, they're not making the playoff.
No, that's super fair. We'll see it. I hope he rises to the occasion as a Buckeye, but from my limited knowledge on Notre Dame and Derek's reports as a Notre Dame fan, they don't rise to the occasion. So this is an early test for them. We'll see if they do it. College football week 1 is here. It's got me juiced up. It is what's getting me through this week. Want to end it with looking outside, not quite outside the line, but looking around the world more so on a couple other fun topics. Flag football heading to the Olympics in LA in 2028. We had Noah Lyles as kind of the Olympic troll this year. He won the Dylan Brooks Award.
Still doesn't want to pretend like he knows who Tyreek Hill is. I saw another interview with him.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. But the flag football court, I don't know if there is an Olympic team yet.
Darnell
Mhm.
Hoche Duchette is his name.
Okay. Quarterback for the American flag football team said he's a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. I don't know how I feel about that.
I think first off, he's not.
Okay.
I'm gonna go
Disavowed.
on a limb. I'm gonna go out on a limb right now. We're 4 years to the Olympics. I think I'm gonna break everyone's heart. I don't think we're gonna see one NFL player in the Olympics.
Not crazy.
I don't think we're gonna
Not
see one
crazy.
player. Mahomes, if anybody doesn't know the story, Mahomes hurt himself playing basketball at a local gym in Kansas City a few years ago. Got
Mm,
hurt. This is before he got his big contract. He gets hurt. It was public. He was at a gym. Gets hurt. He was fine. Didn't miss any time or anything. But he got hurt, and everybody saw him twist his ankle. It happened. When he signs that big contract, they put in his contract that he wasn't allowed to play rec basketball, wasn't allowed to do other sports activities outside of our facilities. Obviously, Mahomes, smart guy, builds a basketball court at his house. He plays at his house now. No big deal. Does it there. But
mhm.
the Olympics, I think, is in that cause that if the flag football were ever, he's not allowed to play.
Probably.
But to say for this kid, Darnell Hoche Duchette, I get it. You want to protect your sport. You help build the sport. I can respect him on the sense of he got the sport to where it is today. I can
For
respect it.
sure. Yes.
But to say that Lamar and Patrick and Tyreek and Jettas and CD and Micah and TJ Watt, to say those guys you wouldn't find a spot, I hate to tell them flag football, USA flag football would drop those guys in a second if any of those guys wanted to play.
For sure. When it started, I think it was like the week before the Mahomes quote. They were saying, like you just said, like we're the ones who got it where the game is today. We should be the ones representing it.
Sure.
I was like, you know what? I respect that. Like they are the ones who've like put in that work. It is like a slightly different sport between like obviously you're not tackling people and stuff. So these guys may know a little bit more. But as far as like he's like, yeah, my IQ of the game is better than Patrick Mahomes. I'm like, you are a clown, sir.
I
So
mean, I think they're playing on like a 50-yard field. I
uh
don't think it's a full field. I get it that you're probably not hitting them. Sure, I'll give them that you maybe know how to pull flag a little better. But
yeah,
the thing is, none of those guys are guarding. If you had CD and Jamar and Justin Jefferson, nobody's on them on the block. They're fucking
right.
juking you out of your shoes. They're gone on a slant and they're gone. Like you're not even don't even need to tackle them. You don't even need to pull their flag. So it doesn't matter. But I'm going out on a limb right now, 4 years in advance. We're not going to see any NFL players. They're going to be safe. None of these teams are going to allow them. I had my rant a couple weeks ago when the Olympics ended, when NBA or when the basketball team won, that I really want to see the MLB players. I would love to still see that. I still don't believe it's going to happen, but I would love to see
Yeah.
them. But I believe a lot of pro athletes outside of basketball and the main sports will not compete in team sports.
Yeah, unfortunate, but I can see it going that way
A lot of
too.
money, a lot of money on the field to get hurt. Don't take those chances. And I mean, it's one thing to see like, oh man, like Darnell Duchette got hurt. That sucks. US team. I'd be pissed if USA lost a
Yeah,
quarterback. I'd be sad. But I would be devastated if CeeDee Lamb went out there and hurt himself. And now CeeDee Lamb is out for the season because he was playing fucking flag football.
4 years from now though, he's gonna be washed. But anyways,
Wrong.
people are stuck in space, man. What's
Stuck in
up with that?
space.
How do you get stuck in space?
I was reading about it before we hopped on, and it's tough, man. So if anybody hasn't seen this story, a Boeing Starliner spacecraft was dealt another blow over the weekend when NASA determined that it wasn't fit to bring its crew back home. Now this task falls on its competitor SpaceX and Elon Musk. So basically,
He's
what I've
definitely
read.
trolling them. He's definitely trolling
Oh
them so
yeah,
hard
yeah.
doing this.
Basically what happened was they were sent up in space right before July 4th. It says it launched June 5th out of Cape Canaveral in Florida, launched there. And when it happened, when they went up there, their purpose of the mission was intended to compete with Elon and SpaceX and to show making consecutive trips and going back and forth from the NASA space station and back down to Earth. When this happened, when they took off, something they noticed went wrong as soon as it was in the air. There were
Oh dear God.
helium leaks inside of the engines and inside the spaceship. Problems with the craft's propulsion system and Starliner systems were alerted as soon as I don't know the word, but like it separated and
I believe
took
that would
off.
be decoupled. I believe that would be decoupled, Nick.
Decoupled. Okay, thank you, thank you. Two astronauts are out there, a man and a woman. Their names are say their names. Let's see what their names are.
Say their
Barry,
name.
Barry Wilmore and Sunita Williams. They were supposed to be home by July 4th. They now are not going to be back till 2025.
I
They're
just
saying
heard
they
about this
can't bring them
this
back.
week, and I didn't realize they were supposed to be home like in
This
July.
is
That
saying
makes
it
it
was
even
this was
crazier.
saying it was supposed to be a month-long trip up and down to the space station and back, and now they're stuck there trying to get them home.
So the big question: are they going to fall in love or eat each other?
I'm gonna go with fall in love. I don't know their marital status. But maybe it's like Passengers. You ever seen that movie with
Hmm.
Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a little different because they're like frozen for a little and they like have to wake up. But other than that, like I'm scared of space. I think it's super scary. I am not a flat earther. I know there's a lot of shit out there. I'm not saying there's like aliens and shit out there, but
There's aliens.
it's scary out there. And like people talk about like, oh, we're gonna be at Mars in 10 years, Mars in 20 years, this place. I'm not going on any of those trips. I'm totally cool right here. I know people want to say like, oh, life's so bad, oh, this and that. Life ain't bad when you're on the ground and my feet are touching the ground. I can control that. When I'm stuck in the air, floating around in space, and I have nothing to know if I'm coming back or not, I would freak out. And like, I just, it's scary. Being stuck in space, like, could you imagine being their families or their friends? Like, do you think you're ever going to see them again? Do we think we're ever going to see them again?
I think we will get them back. Also, I don't know if I've ever said this to you in real life, but between the tone deaf list, the fact that you have custom made cards for airport and that you're already we're gonna go to Mars. I'd go to Mars, but the
No
fact that
way.
you're already this Charlie and the Chocolate Factory grandpa in bed about this stuff, you're gonna be the craziest grandfather that you've ever seen in your life, which is gonna be hilarious.
I,
But
I would I would think the tone deafness of boarding spaceships, that would be a whole different, that would be a podcast itself.
oh my god,
They should
dude,
start a podcast in space.
they should definitely start a podcast in space. If
They can just tune in. They can like plug into NASA. They'll record it
yeah,
themselves talking. It'll
because they're
send to
definitely
them.
talking to each other right
Yeah,
now.
definitely. Yeah. I mean, like,
We got to get in touch with
do you
Elon.
think do you think that they're playing like the name random athlete game?
I hope. What are they doing? Because like you can't even like get some push. You're in zero. I mean, maybe they
No,
have
you
gravity
can't
on the
put.
ship, but like you can't get. You're just like floating around like random athlete game. You got to have a Hall of Fame performance in the state you're in right now.
That
You're
would be
naming
so
cricket
tough.
players at this
Yeah.
like it's bad. I honestly think are we going to see them again? Yeah, you sure hope so, but being just in space with like I mean, who knows what their conditions are at the moment, but just being in space like unreachable like in kind of a state of like not that they're going to die soon but like something is wrong, they may have like a completely like different like they're going to have a this is an experience that no one else can share with them.
Nobody. And I think it's like it's one thing to like be up there and you're like excited, and if you've trained for it, like you're a fucking beast. Like the people that go up there, the space astronauts, awesome. Those people are awesome. I have all the respect in the world for them. And to get up there and you're up there and you're like, okay, like it's 6 weeks and I'm home.
Yeah.
It's 6 weeks, I'm home. And then you get up there and they're like, hey guys, like we needed to call you and like patch you through about something. And they're like, we can't bring you home. Like there's a problem with the spaceship. And then there's like, hey, we can't bring you home for 4 more months. Like you're gonna miss Christmas with your family. You're gonna miss.
Yeah.
And luckily it's not like they're like these are like hostages that are like stuck
Right.
in like a country for years and they have no idea what's going on in the world. But like you're gonna come back to a much different. They've left. Like, how about this? They left. Joe Biden was the president. Do you think they know that Joe Biden is still running for the Democratic nominee? Like, do you think they know he's gone?
They got to be talking to them. They got to be talking to them some way. he
Like, you
they
think they're
they
like?
have to
I mean, like,
know.
what would be cool is if they would like. I would consider if they
Do
would
they know that
patch.
Florida State lost?
Yeah, yeah, right. Like, I would be cool with going up if they're patching me through. Like, hey guys, just want to let you know here was the slate today, and they go through like game by game.
Yeah.
Like somebody comes on, basically does a podcast for them and breaks down game by game. Like, but like I remember seeing a
We're
video.
willing to do that if no one's doing that at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, we're really NASA, SpaceX. If you're hiring. Um, did you ever watch Big Brother?
No.
So
I'm
Big Brother,
familiar with
you know what the
it,
game,
but
you know what it is? The TV show,
yes.
the reality show. So it's
Mhm.
like you're locked in a house, you don't have your phones, you're like it's like 90 days, whatever, and they're playing the game. So I was watching a version of it. It's like the Europe. Never watched this season, but I saw the clip of it on YouTube or something, and it's like it was 2016, and the American version is in the summer, and the European, I guess, is in the fall.
Okay.
And when they were doing this, they don't have their phones, nothing. They patch into the Big Brother house, which is just like a regular house, normal. But they patch in
Yeah.
and say, "We would like to let you guys know that Donald Trump has just defeated Hillary Clinton in the election." And they like were like, "What the hell?" Like, like went berserk. So like That would be crazy to like just be with like one other person and like not know how to react. Like whether like you like are happy or sad about a certain event, a team event, like like or forget about Biden being the Democratic nominee, like Trump being assassinated, like stuff
Yeah,
like that. Like they probably I wonder if they know about that. So like I just like think that'd be crazy. I hope they get back, but being stuck in space, it's almost up there with like drowning, like biggest fear.
for sure. Space is scary.
Space is so scary. But that's around the world. We hope you guys enjoyed that little off-brand segment after some football and some life. But now, we're going to kick it to our ad read and our sponsor and clutch moment of the week. Our clutch moment of the week is brought to you by the company on Joey's shirt, Shore Metals, serving Southern California since 1970. Big enough to serve you and small enough to know you. See Stan, he'll help you out. Joey, who's your clutch moment of the week?
Justin Herbert of the Los Angeles Chargers, starting
Okay.
quarterback, new head coach, a lot of new weapons around him. He's been a consistent positive piece for the Chargers over the last few years. And he put that leadership on display over this past weekend when the team was
Did he
stuck
play?
in an no,
Oh.
but outside the line, you need to see what your quarterback's doing off the field as well. Where is
Oh.
he is being a leader in his community, with his family, with his teammates. Recently, they were in Dallas. I'm assuming all Dallas facilities are kind of ass.
But they're at a
So
hotel. They were at a hotel.
it's Dallas. I mean, Jerry owns the entire city. You can't tell me otherwise. Stuck in an elevator for 2-3 hours. I heard Jim Harbaugh in the press conference was praising Justin Herbert for his leadership. He said guys came out sweaty. They sweat through their shirts. Their hair was wet. They looked like a mess. Everyone was freaking out. Not my Justin. Not my Justin Herbert. He came out. Maybe his hair was a little wet, Jim Harbaugh said. Maybe his hair is a little wet, but the shirt was dry. And if that is not a positive sign for your season, for your quarterback, if that is not a clutch moment, Michael, I don't know what is.
We talked about it a few weeks ago how training camp stats don't matter. A couple weeks ago we were at the training camp stats matter part of the offseason. We're now at
Yes.
the how can my franchise quarterback be a leader off the field hopium part of the offseason where people are now just stringing anything. Harbaugh came out, I did see that, called him a leader, got everybody out
Mhm.
there directing traffic. I don't really know how you direct traffic in a four by
There's just
four
one door.
box, but
There's one door in the
so
elevator.
but he came out looking like a leader. He was a leader inside that box. He got everybody out, did the right thing. So I did see that story, but great part of training camp. We're at the franchise QB is a leader in the elevator part of the offseason. For
Yes.
me, my clutch moment, Georgia Tech kicker Aiden Burr. I
The
think
man.
he didn't think he was going to get a chance. It felt like they were gushing them down the field on the run game. Didn't know if he was going to play. They started playing for the win instead of going to the end zone. And he came in 40+ yard field goal, which I'll commend him. We said it earlier in this episode. Don't compare yourself. Florida State's kicker was 2 for 2 from 50 yards.
Yeah,
Two for
that
two
was
from 50
big.
yards. And he was booming balls. Aiden Burr comes in, ice in his veins, butter, game-winning field goal, takes down Florida State in Ireland. Clutch moment, Aiden Burr.
Aiden Burr, even more impressive now, understanding how hard it is to kick from the hash marks in college football. So shout out Aiden Burr. Shout out Justin Herbert. Now to outside the line. Wrapping it up with outside the line, tone deaf person of the week. Favorite part, Michael. Who you got?
So my tone deaf person of the week, it was kind of what was going on outside of football, a different sport. Not many people are as tuned in as I am when the summer comes around. But Little League World Series just wrapped up. Florida beat Chinese Taipei. If you missed that game, insane ending. Florida,
Insane
eighth,
ending.
eighth
Yeah.
inning, bunts to get the guy over from second. First baseman crashes, throws the ball to first. No one's there. Run scores. Lake Mary, Florida wins the World Series. They take down Chinese Taipei. First time ever a Florida team has won it. They were 0-8 in the championship
Mm.
up until this point. So congratulations to them. Great Little League World Series as always. There were some great athletes, great kids. Always like seeing where some of those kids end up. Nick Prado, Cody Bellinger, a lot of pros have played there. Todd Frazier, a lot of players.
Oh, yeah.
My tone deaf, though, does not go out to those teams, but to the Staten Island team last weekend. Last weekend, the New York Yankees played the Detroit Tigers in the Little League Classic. It's in Williamsport. They've been going for a couple years now with the MLB. They have a game there. It's Little League World Series weekend. Athletes, younger kids, everybody gets to mingle, be a part of it. It's a great event the MLB puts on. It lets a lot of kids look up to pros. Awesome event. I'm very pro those kind of events marketing. But my tone deaf is Coach Laterza from the Staten Island team, the New York team that was in the World Series, getting into it with New York's finest, the captain, Aaron Judge. Basically
Yes.
called out Aaron Judge, said, "Why didn't you wave to our kids? Why didn't you take the time to sign autographs? Garrett Cole was here, Aaron Boone was here, Nestor was here, and you didn't take the time. You couldn't even wave to these kids. All these kids admire you." Now, look, I do believe Aaron Judge could have given a wave. I can. But to come at him and attack him, like, bro, I get it. Your kid didn't get an autograph, but give it a break. Give it a break, bro. You're not special. You should be grateful. Why? It's like you give them an inch, they want to take a mile. They got to meet
Yeah.
Garrett Cole and Aaron Boone and Jazz Chisholm, all these great athletes, even players on the Tigers, and they were still like, "Why didn't Aaron Judge do this?" They're probably going to be invited back to a game anyways. Usually, any team that plays in the League World Series, the local MLB team invites them like a week or two later. You can meet Judge then. I thought it was ridiculous. Aaron Judge and Aaron Boone had to make a statement basically saying, like, that's ridiculous. I was not coming. Aaron Boone came out basically honestly and said, "You guys will boo me when I go 0-1. You guys will boo me if I go 0-2. You'll boo me if I don't wave at you. I can never make some of you happy." And that's just the way
Mm.
sports is. And I think that's a great way of looking at it. This coach came at Aaron Judge. Just be grateful. It's such an amazing week. I went to Cooperstown, which was awesome, which is a different tournament. It's nowhere near the size of Little League World Series, but that's such a fun week. Little League World Series, it's so rare to be at the League World Series. Your team has made it that far. You get to be at that Little League World Classic. You get to play great teams. Be grateful. Don't be so freaking egotistical to call out Aaron Judge and say, "Why didn't you sign my autograph or wave to my kid?" Like, come on, man. So my tone deaf Staten Island coach.
Yeah, he was probably over there crying with the team. My takeaway from that is maybe Aaron Judge wants out of New York if he says he can't please anybody. So maybe start that as we're diving into the
His
playoffs for MLB.
$400 million contract, I think, says otherwise, but that would be wild if that came out.
Fine, fine. Chicago would be more fun anyways. But yeah, I mean the Little League World Series travel ball dads. Maybe they're on the hot seat.
But this is Little League. Like Little World Series, it's not travel ball dads. I'll give you the travel ball dads are way more intense, but this is Little League. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
crazy.
How about yours?
I think it's me, and
Oh,
I've been wrestling with this. So as I've talked about many times before, a lot of my friends are still living with their parents in the suburbs, so they spend a lot of weekends over at my apartment. Always fun, love having all the friends out there. We go to the bars as groups of people do on the weekends, and we always end up at the same bars. We go to Tin Roof right there on Clark Street. It's a great time, live music,
familiar.
DJ room in the back, absolutely electric scene. But it's always like a big conversation. Like, where are we gonna go? Like we go here, and it's like my feet go one, two, and then I'm at Tin Roof. It's inevitable. And I kind of hate going to the same bar every weekend. One of the reasons that I wanted to move was to experience all these new things. Also, I'm in a different stage in my life where maybe it's the docile couple man in me as opposed to my single friends
Oh,
that I want to go to a bar where I can sit down sometime. So
oh.
mine was going to Tin Roof every weekend and partying my face off. That I might be tone deaf, that I'm looking for other things sometimes. What do you think?
You know what I hear are good bars, and
Hmm.
they sometimes have seats. Want to go swing the bat? You know my place, Sluggers.
I wouldn't. Oh, they don't have seat at night on weekends. They don't have seats, but
But
I
hitting
I
BP, there's nothing better than that. Nothing more dog
I would.
than
You
that.
could not pay me to take BP at Sluggers. You could not.
We're going. We're going when I come, and I want to see it.
No. I'll have to start taking batting practice now. I am cited as the worst baseball player many of my friends have ever seen. I quit baseball as soon as I started kid pitch.
Oh my
Add in al
god,
add in alcohol. It was boring. I didn't love it. I didn't love the game. That's fine. I respect it now, but add in alcohol,
I'm
I am
horrible.
I am not getting close to those batting cages. Never.
That's
Never.
so funny. All right. Well, that's
So,
good.
yeah,
Yeah,
I might be
different
tone deaf.
bars. That's fair. I mean, I like to sit at a bar too. I'm anti like the Newport Beach scene. Like you said, I have a girlfriend. I'm not trying to swindle my way out there, so I understand that part of it. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
fair.
I'm an old
I think
man.
it's like tone deaf. Maybe like since you're still kind of new to the city, maybe it's tone deaf there. Like you haven't been there that long. But like from the actual perspective of sitting down at a bar, I don't think you're tone deaf at all. I'm all in on that. All in on
Okay,
that. So
fair enough.
I agree with that. Wrapping up. Wrong side, right side. What do you got?
I'm gonna save my right side. Oh, my wrong side
Okay.
is so good. So over the weekend, we were celebrating my cousin Tyler. He recently graduated from the Firefighters Academy. Shout out
Let's go,
Tyler. We are
Tyler.
working on scheduling an interview with him. It's gonna be awesome. We were over at my cousin's house, and typical family scene. Grill is on. Kids are running around. Folding tables and chairs are set up. and there's bags in the front. I love me some
Okay.
bags. I wouldn't
Cornhole
say
for all
I'm
you non-bag knowers. Cornhole for all you
oh,
non-bag knowers.
are you a bags guy, or do you call it bags
I'm,
or cornhole?
I've grown to call it bags going to school at Ohio State, but I was cornhole before this, before I got to college.
I'm glad you've grown. A lot of people don't, and it makes me sad. But it was later in the night. We were kind of chilling, kind of bored. Maddie was there. Me, Maddie, my parents. My parents, I don't know how to say this without getting in trouble later, but I expect to beat my parents in feats of physical activity.
Okay.
That's just how it is. That is what I expect from myself. And I was sorely mistaken.
Oh
Also,
no.
Maddie and I are historically bad game partners. We get on each other very quickly. The
Not
chemistry
good.
breaks down. Chemistry breaks down in competition. I've suggested therapy over it. It is quite concerning. But bags, chill. Like, come on. Like, we can
Sure.
get this done. Maddie, stud athlete.
Drink in
Maddie
your
was on the
hand.
same side as
Yeah.
Maddie's on the same side as my mom. I was on the same side as my dad. We got smoked. I have never seen either
Wow.
of my parents play as good as they did that day. The first game was like
Golky.
21 to 11 goal. It was so golky. My mom hit a four-bagger to start off the next game. We
Oh my
lost the
god.
second game 24-2. They busted. They like went over the
What do you
cap, and I was
play?
like, I'm
What?
not playing.
Just keep going. Just keep
They
going.
they just kept going, and I was like, I'm done. Like, you guys won. Like, I quit. Like, this is awful. Like, we got smoked. And Maddie like came over. She gave me a look. I was like, my parents did me so dirty. They emasculated me.
No
They
ice
were the
cream on
worst
no ice
wingmen
cream
ever.
on the way
Yeah,
home.
yeah, it was crazy. So my wrong side was that. It was embarrassing. My mom immediately runs around and tells literally everyone else at the party. And I was literally soon after, I was like, I think we need to go. Like, I was like, bye. Like, I'm mad. So that was
That's
my wrong side.
That's pretty good. I think I told you when you like, I didn't really know the full story because I wanted to hear it live on tape. But I think I told you like in passing when we were talking about ideas this week that Meg and I, first time we ever
Hmm.
met, we played bags together at Tony's house, at Anthony Ratner's house in his backyard.
Uh huh.
First time we had ever met, we're talking, getting to know each other. We're on the same team, and we got smoked. I think we lost to like her best friend from high school and another one of her best friends that she lived with in college. And she from also known her in high school, so they were like locked in. They've had the chemistry for years, I
Oh
guess.
yeah.
Meg and I were in trouble. I mean, but we moved on, bigger, better things. We've gotten past that. But yeah, I haven't played many like athletic feats. I've restrained myself from playing pickleball with her. I think that's for the best to not play that. But yeah,
As
so
duos or against her or both?
both,
Okay.
both.
Okay.
So yeah, but that's fair. That's a good wrong side. Do you want me to do my wrong side, right side before you do yours? Right side. You seem like
Yes.
you wanted to say yours. Okay.
Yes.
So for me, my wrong side, sad wrong side, personally. Joe Leo, Cal Parker, those guys, they're going to be mourning if they're listening to this. But if you don't know, any Ohio State grads, wrong side. I saw it today. It's currently August 26th. I saw it on Instagram. Really sad news. The Beer Stube on High Street officially closing at the end of September. October 1st, I got to be out of the building. Kind of sucks. I was not familiar with the Beer Stube until my sophomore year, till Joe Leo brought me along
Yeah.
for a ride. Awesome time. You talk about sitting down, dive bar, being old. Joe Leo was there sophomore year, and we had some great nights there. We had some great nights just ending there. We would go in there sometimes just to drink the whole night, and there would go nights to just drink and end. They got a jukebox, we play music. Craig, the bartender who Joe was really close with, was awesome. Joe Leo and I also, sophomore year, fun fact, went to get a pitcher of beer one night, just us two, started drinking, saw it undercover and had a bolt out. Had a bolt out. We saw it.
Wow.
We both were like, I think that's an undercover. So we left our pitcher there. But sad news, Beer Stew, another great Ohio State bar closing. Pretty sad. I don't know. Don't like seeing apartments going up in old places. I know I'm not that old, and I saw only a smidge of like the history of Ohio State bars, and my time in Columbus only started in 2018. But I thought that was sad.
Yeah.
Beer Steup's a great bar. A lot of guys, a lot of good memories, a lot of fun times. Just going out, especially in the middle of the week. Not a lot of bars are open. That bar was
Yep.
open every day. So shout
Hmm.
out to Beer Stew. Great times. You guys rocked. And we're definitely going to miss you. And I'm bummed that my kids won't get the chance to go there. So I am really sad about that. Right
R.I.P.
side, right side for me, talked about it, getting better, doing things to improve yourself. Getting back into the session of studying for the CPA, kind of fell off for a little, struggled through some tests. Getting back into it, have to shout out Meg, have to shout out my parents. Gave me the kick in the ass, told me to get to it. They know I can do it. Having the support system behind me. I hired a tutor. Now I have a tutor. I scheduled now moving forward. I'm trying to get back on the pace. Stay positive about it. It's a tough test. I know that.
Yeah.
But having the support right side of Meg and obviously Meg works so hard. I see her every day working in med school, and to have someone like that in your corner pushing you, even though you don't think you can do it, but to have someone thinking that they can, just means the world. My parents, they've told me a million times I can do it. They've supported me. My brother, same thing. So tutoring session, right side, scheduling them. I made a joke to her. She said, "When are you available?" I was on West Coast time. She's on East Coast time. But the funny thing is about it, she was like, "How about the weekends?" I was blatantly honest with her. I said, "I love to watch football. I want to watch football. How can we work around this?" And I said, "How about 9 to 10 a.m. on Sunday mornings? Football starts at 10 a.m. for the NFL." She's like, "That's perfect. Let's do that." So to me, it felt like another win to get some work done, be productive early in the morning, and then watch football, earn that football. So that was my right side, little mental academic right side for me.
That's some good shit, brother. Get after it. You got it, big dog.
Yep.
That's gonna be good. Glad glad to see you continuing to work. It is not easy, but you demand. On a lighter note, my right side, we have been looking forward to this for quite some time. College football this weekend, and they rewarded us with a 3-day weekend. So my right side, I am headed up north to an Airbnb cabin with a hot tub and a lake with all my friends for Labor Day, 3-day weekend. Need a break, need to get away for a little bit. Going to be nice to be away from the city, more just like hanging out, and add football in on top of it. So super psyched for the 3-day weekend. Everyone have fun, be safe,
Be
do
safe.
you.
Watch football.
Watch so much football. I'm so excited. Buckeyes minus 50.5. Hammer it.
Stay tuned to
But
see our
yeah,
picks this week. Stay tuned to see our picks. We're posting them this week.
it's going to be good shit, guys. Another great episode, a little bit of a longer one without a guest, but that's it. That's it from us. Stay blessed.